Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and variations thereupon, and welcome to Jerez in Spain for pre-season testing. Your first glimpse of the Formula Sprint 1 cars in action as we see Gallery 82 binning it into the wall in the background, which is a great way for our 2-hour pre-season testing session to begin. My name is Edward Hunter, and alongside me is the one, the only Eoin Harmon in the commentary box, and our broadcast director, keeping abreast of all the action, although we expect it will be quite leisurely, at least to begin with, before the times really start to hot up as the session goes on. It is Mr. Fabian Jungbluth who's going to keep us all eyes on all the action, I guess. There we go. I thought of something creative to say there. All eyes on all the action all the time then. So yeah, here we go then. This is going to be a very relaxed pre-season testing session as we wait for our season to get underway, of course, in Formula Sprint 1. Of course, let's bring you in, and of course, big talking point is, of course, it's kind of all changed in Formula Sprint 1 because with the loss of Multiforce GP, who, of course, the Maltese team are reigning champions for the past 2 seasons. Matthias Maika, of course, winning the championship so memorably in 2025, and it was Mike Quint the season before when I was last commentating alongside you for the full season, Owen. So yeah, certainly things have changed a long way. We've got some new teams moving up from Formula Sprint 2, some teams just shuffling down a step down the ladder from Super Lights SL2 into FS1, or back into FS1 in some cases, and a load of returning teams, along with a couple of new entries as well. So lots to keep track of then, and we're going to be seeing hopefully as many of them as possible in action on track tonight.
Oh, for sure, Ed, and a very appreciated welcome back to the commentary booth. It's been a winter of hibernation, that's for sure, but I'm delighted that Team EH is reunited again. So yeah, it's great. It's
almost like we're entering a team. I've already entered a team in FS2. I mean, we could enter another in FS1 if you want, if you would fancy being a co-team owner.
Oh, that's a bit of a commitment, but anyway, for now I'm happy in the booth. So yeah, the fact that we have Multiforce moving on to retirement basically after so many years.
They've kind of earned it, haven't they?
Yeah, they have earned it. Yeah, the plus 500 starts may never be equaled again. That's certainly a landmark that the lads can be very proud of. Jason Muscat, of course, was there in charge of the winning team for the last 2 seasons. So it's a great shame that they're gone, but I suppose Frank Hamming is one of our great veterans still, plowing along here in FS1, and he's ready to go for 2026. So HGP definitely a team to watch, as the throne is now vacant. So yeah, there's a great opportunity for someone to take that spot, whether it be the likes of a new team or one of our great reliables like HGP. It's all up in the air, I think, not as easy to predict.
Yeah, HGP definitely one of our longer-running Dutch teams. Always with a sort of fairly dark livery. It's either dark green or sort of black often sometimes if they're feeling in a special sort of mood. But yeah, Frank Camming always stands out with the green helmet. Not necessarily the greatest qualifier, though he has built on that over the past couple of seasons. And his qualifying average is a lot better than it used to be. But certainly it tends to be the races, specifically the reverse grid races, where Frank Camming really excels. Always seems to find positions, particularly often he won't if he has a bit of a difficult qualifying, maybe just on the verges of the top 10, you check a few laps in, then suddenly Frank Camming is sort of 5th or 6th and then fighting for the podium by the end of the race. So if he could sort of string a whole season of really solid qualifying performances together, along with his sort of race showings, and keep those at a consistent level, I think there's every chance Frank Camming is one of those sort of nearly men that if he could just change one or two things and with a bit of good luck, I think he could easily fight for the title. You're absolutely right, but certainly not if he runs into fireballs like that. So that was a sort of accident waiting to happen. Somebody had spun coming out of the fast final sector there, and Hamming had nowhere to go. Yeah, so Krzysztof Pisikolan for Gallery 82 having a bit of a fiery start to the session. Still an hour and 50 minutes to go, so luckily he can repair that without too many consequences, as we look at the man who was briefly on top of the timings and is a regular point scorer last season for MS Performance, and he should be returning this season. It's Raymond van Soest. And certainly MS Performance, after a very, very strong 2024, with Victor Ivanov being a multiple race winner, along with a couple of other substitutes like Jake Denahan also able to win in that car, they had a much tougher time of things in 2025. But Van Soest and the rest of MS Performance, with a whole season under their belt with their new lineup, they should be a much more experienced and much more competitive package this time around, you think, Eoin?
Oh yeah, I'd 100% agree with that, Ed, to be honest. Perhaps the Victor Ivanov days were a little bit of a false dawn, I wouldn't say. Of course, it's all up in the air necessarily, but yeah, MS Performance were absolutely flying out the gate in Season 1, and it just kind of faded away in 2025 for them. They just couldn't quite get that reliable series of points. They're fighting hard towards the bottom of the table, but yeah, I think
P10 I think in the end, behind
P10,
Pixelate, but ahead of 100 to 1. We saw so 103 points I think last season. They were quite 150 points, sorry, they were about 19 points away from taking P9 away from Pixelate. So yeah, some way adrift of the, I think it was P2 or 3 in the 2024 standings if memory serves. I think they were a bit further behind than they were in the they might have been P4 actually, because it was Ivanov who was the runner-up for them in the driver's standing in 2024. But yes, I believe Van Soest in the 25 standings was, I've just got to find him, 26th, there we go, with 28 points to his name, if I'm not mistaken. Was it 30 points? Oh, yeah, I think he was equal with Alexander Gonzalez Green in the final standings, of course. But Van Soest hadn't driven in a long while before 2025, and Gonzalez Green was a rookie, of course, driving for a couple of teams, including LEF Auto Racing, who I believe are one of our returning teams as well. So we'll hopefully see them in action a bit later on. But yeah, Van Soest had a couple of good qualifying performances, was occasionally able to, towards the end of the season, put in a few, I almost want to say giant killing performances. But yeah, MS Performance sort of gone from favourites to underdogs, and now we sort of don't know exactly where they filter out, but certainly they should be more consistently towards the front as this season goes on. I think Van Soest is definitely returning. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be, I feel, was it Wesley Stefano that was his teammate last season?
Year, correct, yeah.
Yes, it was Wesley, who was P15, had a slightly better time of things out there. And of course, you would expect so, with Wesley being incredibly experienced.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, we discussed it on our efforts to have every series covered in a sort of pre-season build-up, so that was a lot of work, Ed, I remember that. So yeah, definitely you brought up the experience of the MS Performance drivers from outside GPV, but they came in not necessarily probably what they wanted out of the 2025 campaign, but no doubt, I think it will stand in good stead that they're ready to go. They know what to expect. The season calendar pretty stable. Probably a few changes here or there, really, but nothing out of the ordinary, I'm sure, for all of our FS1 competitors.
Now, you might also have noticed that Alessandro Eoin, who had some really impressive performances, remember leading at Singapore, but as you see him just coming out the pits there, was leading at Singapore before unfortunately spinning out in the reverse grid race, which handed victory yet again to Menno Klont. Even though I wasn't commentating, it was my birthday, so the Edward Hunter curse striking poor Alessandro Eoin in favour of Menno Klont behind him in the reverse grid race. But yeah, Eoin definitely impressed a lot of people in his short FS1 career. He's driving for the new team Hue Performance, not to be confused with Hut Performance, which competed in FS2 the last couple of seasons, owned of course by former driver Dan Hutt. So Team Hue Performance, I believe, is a completely new organisation, which I believe Eoin is part of the ownership team of the squad, if I'm not mistaken. Yet to reveal their full livery, but we're seeing bright yellow machine lapping Haref today, and certainly 120.0, that's the early pace, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a couple of our front runners dipping into the 119s as this session goes on and more rubber gets laid down.
Yeah, of course, and Jerez, traditionally a very, very popular site for testing. You've got all the kinds of corners you could ask for, really. First sector dominated by those sharp right-handers, X192 and Michelin. You start to speed up very quickly in the middle sector towards what was the, I think it was a stack curve or something like that. It's now renamed in Danny Pedrosa's honour, I believe, nowadays. So very, very quick section, the straight from corners 5 to 6, and then it gets technical again with more right-handers in 9, 10, and especially 11 is a very exciting corner to watch these cars drive through. And you've got the final hairpin as well.
Yeah, I think 11 was where we saw Pisico and had dropped it earlier, and Frank Camming had basically was heading towards the scene of the accident with a stationary car sideways across the apex. So that's not always the easiest to deal with then. But yeah, certainly Eoin, the Italian, will be very, very keen in his sort of first full FS1 season to make a big impression. If you can top the times in pre-season testing, it certainly gets tongues wagging, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be the overwhelming championship favourite. Although I have said that before and then been proven wrong, usually because my team's not the ones that top pre-season testing in FS2 anyway.
Oh, well, it's better to win the actual trophies than win pre-season, that's for sure.
Yeah, they certainly don't hand out very much. As we see, Eoin has set a purple middle sector, 29.3. Across the line he comes. Is he going to be able to break into the 119s? There we go. Goes a full second faster, 119.264. So definitely getting the best out of the soft tyres there. And that's going to be a big skill, not only in qualifying, but also potentially in the reverse grid races where they'll be trying to save those sorts of soft tyres. Of course, we won't be using Haref come the actual calendar. But nonetheless, it's just good to get the characteristics of these cars and tyres under your belt, because in every category there's big changes that tend to be made in between each season, and it's always a little bit of a rush between all the teams and drivers to sort of get on top of things as we cut to another legendary team in sim racing that's entering a sophomore season in FS1, and that is Team Iris. And Iris, I have to say, didn't really have a whole lot of good luck last season. They were 14th in the table with 75 points to their name, and they had the likes of Carl Magnus Boré and a couple of other drivers competing for them over the course of the season.
10 Lure, yeah.
10 Lure, 10 of course was the other one. So there is I believe they're one of their reserves, although we don't know the full lineups of any of the teams with any certainty yet, unless you're the team owner, can maybe inform us as the broadcast goes on. But Christian Malcharek, definitely having a fairly strong start to the session in P3.
Yeah, I know Overpower had a launch on the Discord to say they're ready and raring to go with their new livery and their driver lineups. I'd have to dig that up in the Discord there just to find out. But yeah, Scott Flack is here, having to wake up in the crack of dawn in Down Under. It's a long, long slog for him in particular, but he knows how to win to get that hoodoo off his back was a massive lift for him to know he is a race-winning driver in FS1. So yeah, having to put in a huge amount of commitment to this series, being on the other side of the planet to us in Europe, for example, that really goes to show how much effort he puts into this series, and I'm glad to see him back for another campaign.
Oh, me too, absolutely. Sorry, I just muted myself there because Mum came in with a pancake to celebrate Shrove Tuesday. But yeah, interesting you're talking about hoodoo there. I didn't realise he was superstitious as well, Owen. But yeah, certainly Scott Flack, when he first joined, I think his expectations of how he'd perform in GPV and FS1 were quite low. And now, of course, we saw he had some amazing tyre saving skills. A couple of bits of bad luck. I remember Montreal where he got disqualified because the button map to change tyres. He hadn't mapped a button to change tyres, so he just sort of kept going and got disqualified, if memory serves. Or it might have been it was pit lane speed limiter, I think, that he didn't map. But either way, certainly had more than his fair share of misfortunes, but really made a good impression for Overpower. So they're, of course, the sort of one of the sister teams of Super Venturi with a similar ownership behind them then. So yeah, Scott Flack, definitely very experienced in R Factor 2 sim racing. And it's good to see him in his second sort of full season gearing up for what could be a very promising campaign. As you say, having to wake up so early, it's sort of the Tom Savily effect, isn't it? Because in New Zealand, Tom, before he moved, of course, did have to deal with a sort of similar situation where he's sort of on the other side of the world to basically 90% of his competition then. But yeah, I think there's a lot of fans of Scott Flack, and I'm glad to count myself among them. I think there's very few drivers that I'm not a fan of in GPV across all 5 tiers. Well, I guess the Academy guys are new guys, so I just haven't heard of any of them. But ever in the main 4 broadcast tiers, Academy is broadcast as well, but in the main 4 competition championship tiers, yeah, there's nobody that I'm not really a big fan of. But Scott Flack is certainly someone that I know very well.
Yes, indeed. Just to bring back for a second, it is Massimiliano Reboli in the second Overpower car, so to have a stable known quantity in the second car, I think that'll be great news for Overpower, because it was generally Scott by himself in a fair few rounds, if I recall. He had to act as a solo driver, but it's great that Massimiliano, or Reboli as he's affectionately known, is ready to go in a brand new team, and he should be a very interesting driver to watch. And then just in YouTube chat, we should keep an eye out on that, as well as people wake up to the fact that FS1 is back. Lorenzo has pointed out that Hugh Performance is a Vietnamese-based team, so that's history in the making there to have a team from Vietnam registered in GPV. So that is absolutely fantastic.
Yep, good morning Vietnam, if anybody from there is tuning into this testing session, and certainly they will be very much hoping that Eoin is able to replicate these sorts of performances come at least getting a quick time early in the session is always a good sign, because then it means you can sort of relax for the rest of it unless other people start to eat up that 1.3 second gap to Frank Hamming. Of course, Eoin has already switched to the harder compounded tyres then, so he's doing some long runs after that. As we see, that looked like a Reboli heading straight for the gravel in the middle sector there. So yeah, certainly the man who drove for Pixelate last season, and Reboli was one of the stronger drivers in sort of FS2 as Eoin has a big moment over the curb. Great car control to save that one, and again, but this time much higher speed snap into Alex Criville approaching Ferrari, and that certainly has backfired horribly for him.
At least he was able to find a spot to rejoin safely. Could keep an eye on his mirrors, but yeah, those tires or the particular setup may have passed its peak. So yeah, he got that 1 minute 19 on camera previously, but I'm afraid the performance of this particular car needs a little bit of a tweak, just to make sure it can get some fresh tires and fuel just to go again and live up to the expectations. And yeah, we can see P3 belongs to Lucas Tylene, so KKR, by virtue of the applications to move up or move down, or however you wanted to perform in FS1, they are the top seed, I suppose you could say, number 1 ranked based off how the other teams have moved on, or other things. So yeah, based off the graphic that was showing the FS1 confirmed teams, KKR, after finishing 4th in the standings with Menno Klant in the second car. Tylene, super driver. Of course, the super sweet nickname. It never is far away from him. But yeah, KKR with that experience, knowing that they can almost compete for the title. Just probably a bit more consistency needed across the board to make sure that they can live up to the billing as a potential threat for the title.
Yeah, and of course, let's not forget Lucas Tylin, 6th in last year's driver standings, equal with Oliver Tarras on 311, but I think Tarras got a slightly better best result. I think Tarras did win right near the end of the season, which made all the difference in the end. Might have got one more win, I think, than Lucas Tylin. But yeah, certainly Luca had a very strong debut season where he was very good, particularly in reverse grid races, and he's always a bit of a dark horse, and not just because the black testing livery they've got on, but he's always sort of sneaks his way into podium and victory contention often in races where you don't expect him to. And as for KKR, the Australian team beat HGP by just 6 points last season, so it was a big fight between those two, and we're very much expecting that to resume in 2026. Because HGP have still got their lead driver, Frank Hamming, and Lucas Tylin has proved himself since graduating from FS2 at the end of 2023 to be more than a match for him on occasions.
Yeah, and I suppose the other car, it might be confirmed or not, I'm not sure, but Oliver Hartigai is in the second KKR this evening, so Oliver at the moment P8 in the standings, just under 2 seconds behind Eoin's best time. But yeah, Tylene, green sectors across the board, but oh no, he's been at the final section there. The DRS sign couldn't save his bacon there, so he goes backwards into the start-finish barrier, and that lap will have to be discarded. So yeah, good luck to Lucas and KKR. Whether or not it's Oliver in the second seat, we will find that out, I'm sure, as the weeks tick by. But here he is now. He can hopefully find that improvement KKR require.
Yeah, and Hargitai actually used to drive for my team in certain touring car championships as well. So Oliver Hargitai, the Hungarian driver, I know fairly well. He just understeers slightly off into the gravel there as he just gets to grips with the 2026 FS1 machinery there. But Hargitai, definitely a bit of a hard charger and very consistent as well. So he's certainly got my vote of approval. Because sort of once you're in the Hunter Birch family, you never quite leave. As Hargitai just has the back end complaining on entry, but has a very decent exit there. Let's see what this time does for him. Doesn't look like it's going to improve him too much. 121.6, so 4/10 off of his best lap, but he is of course on the medium tyres there, so we wouldn't immediately be expecting him to challenge for sort of top 4 territory. Although interestingly, speaking of top 4, Frank Hamming's teammate in this test, Emmanuel Gaxella, has set the 4th fastest time at the moment, 120.791 in the second HGP on his own set of medium tyres, only 26 thousandths behind Scott Flack's fastest lap at the moment then. So Gaxella, who is a lot less experienced, it's not a name that I recognise immediately, certainly having a good showing there, as Christian Malcharak, also improving at the moment, sets a 120.395 to go second fastest, albeit still 1.1 seconds off Eoin's pace.
Yeah, definitely, as the weather stays nice and sunny out here in Jerez, we should hopefully get more drivers willing to take it to the limit here. As you can see, Malcharak with a perfect slide there to keep himself planted on the way to the dry sack curve. I should correct myself, it's a dry sack curve. There it is, lovely stuff, well taken there. So Team Iris, they'll be excited to see how they can develop before the actual season begins in a few weeks time. So yeah, looking pretty strong here through the fast right-handers. And yeah, on the other side of the track, a little yellow flag there, but no real problem as we now join him on board. Potential for slipstream here. Here we go. Through Alex Graville. And now Ferrari. Lovely. And he gets out of the way. So if he can get through the final corner correctly, then yeah, this should be a very formidable time, Ed. So potential 119.9, I'd say. Oh, close.
Oh yeah, certainly. He's getting personal best at the moment on the soft tyres as he Oh, just goes a bit deep into turn 1 and just about arrests the slide and gets the car back on track. But certainly Christian here will be, if it's not confirmed already, definitely trying to impress the management at Team Iris. Legendary endurance racing squad, of course, that's got several sort of underdog wins under its belt. Not quite as big a pedigree in open wheel sim racing, but yeah, they certainly had a bit of a rough start to life with a lot of races that one or both drivers had to miss last season then. So they could definitely do with a sort of stalwart that's able to consistently sort of punch in great performances and impress them. And certainly Maltrek will be hoping that he's the man to do that. And yeah, certainly aggressive start to this test is a good sign for his chances of getting a full-time seat.
Yeah, definitely. The opportunity to fill in for the full-time seat at the beginning of the season, probably as competitive as it gets, but then as the year ticks by, then yeah, definitely vacancies can appear either on a temporary basis as someone has to be absent for one of the races, or else maybe a chance for a reshuffle. We know other teams have certainly poached or found themselves with an opportunity to hire. I suppose Griffon and Shimon Frelick will probably go down as one of the best mid-season hires in my GPVWC commentary career. So yeah, that's the template. If you could possibly match that, then you're onto a winner.
Yeah, it was a bit of an unusual circumstance though, because Simon is a race winner in the Super League now. We can, after having seen it happen last season, as we see, one the Overpower car spinning behind Juho Soppanen, and Juho does the same thing. Soppanen driving the Excelium Motorsport, a graduate from FS2, much like Juho Soppanen himself as well, who was of course a point scorer in Formula Sprint 2 and is hoping that he can replicate that in Formula Sprint 1 if he gets a seat this season, of course. And it's always the case with these new teams moving up, they're always looking for new drivers. Remco Deseo also on the books at Excelium, but I think knowing Remco, he is more just testing just for I don't want to say just for fun, but certainly I would be very surprised if Remco ends up being signed for a full-time seat, because it would be him going back on things that he has told me about not being interested in driving anymore. But yeah, certainly Juho Soppanen pushing the limits, and he's another of our young drivers looking to impress. And I'm not just saying that because Juho's another one that's subbed in at my team in FS2 as well, and indeed scored his first points while driving for me. But certainly he's a very likable young driver, and yeah, I'm really excited to see if he's going to get the nod by Excelium then, as we look at Scott Flack beginning a lap on the soft tyres.
He should have nice clear air in front of him to focus, but yeah, behind two cars are getting a bit tantalizingly close there, so hopefully they're able to cooperate. If they're not teammates, it's hard to tell exactly from the distance. It might have been Frank Hamming or Manuel in the HGP, at least one of them. I'm not sure if it's both. We might get an idea as they cross the sector line. Oh, a bit wide there for the third car in the distance, so might possibly be Christian, or not Christian, sorry, it could be Raymond.
It's
or
the two
Frank.
HGPs,
Yeah,
I think,
it is
in
two
formation.
HGPs, yes. Yes, that makes sense now.
So I believe that's Gaxella that's behind Frank Hamming at the moment. Oh, no, it's Hamming behind Gaxella. Ignore what I said. I was looking for the green helmet as Gaxella goes off, and Gaxella's got a sort of very bright yellow helmet. So they've both got bright green and bright yellow, which are quite similar sort of colours. But yeah, Frank Hamming definitely hoping his teammate will either get out of the way or speed up, I think, going into the final corner here.
Now this lap is a write-off, I'd say. Sector 2 for Frank. Quite far down. It negates all of his benefits of Sector 1. So yeah, you can see there, a 121.6 isn't quite his personal best. But yeah, that's all okay. And there's an MS Performance car following behind. So that might be... Yeah, it must be Raymond. Yeah, Raymond is just in the distance there. There he is.
Yeah, certainly he's been playing it quite cool since leading the very, very early running. but like Scott Flack, he switched back to the softs then. So these four, all sort of on a similar run plans at the present moment. Then we got 11 cars out on track at the minute, and Wopke Hoekstra, the Dutchman, of course, was competing for Green Stripes in the Super League last season. Had a bit of a difficult time. It was he was sort of struggling not to be lapped in several of the races then, and Wopke, who was actually an HGP driver for quite a few seasons, won back, his most recent win back in, I think, 2018 or 2017. So quite a while ago now, unfortunately, for the Dutchman. But yeah, Wopke, another very, very likable veteran that is sort of invaluable from a sort of setup and team morale sort of side. He's always a lovely, lovely driver to have. And the CM Tech Racing, which I think it was James Knox left a comment saying it looks a lot like the Kings Racing livery. And they, of course, were in FS1 a couple of seasons ago before being promoted to Super Light. So I guess the yellow and dark blue livery color scheme was sort of going spare, and CM Tech Racing decided we're going to have a bit of that along with putting a Wopke Hoekstra in the car. So Hoekstra definitely hoping to refine his sort of consistent point scoring ways, because he has definitely had a bit of a bruising last couple of seasons in terms of results, and I think that nobody would begrudge him a big load of points across the course of the season.
Yeah, and another piece of intel from Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic in chat. He says he's got no drivers at the moment to drive around, so he's bored and he wants to have a go himself. So we can see the rebranded Bodor Racing team, formerly LEF Auto Racing. So there it is, a look at their new testing livery and their new logo. So yeah, Bodor Racing is Lorenzo's team. So yeah, that's the one major rebrand that I can pick out straight away now that he is able to represent himself. And another good fact from James Knox in the chat as well. He said Emmanuel Gacella is the 2013 FS2 champion. So
okay.
13 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, that is quite a big gap. And 2013 FS2, did he say?
Actually, FS2, yeah. So thanks,
okay,
James,
so
for that.
It doesn't usually take 13 years to go up a tier in GPV, but I guess he had other things on. There is more to life than sim racing. But yeah, certainly Gaxella. It's good to see drivers back, and it's always like seeing an old friend again as Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic just locks up the rear tires into the hairpin, and then
brake bias is all wrong, man.
Yeah, needs to tear it back to the rear, I think, because he just did not have any stability on the brakes or on the throttle either. But yeah, certainly he's going out for Bodor in the sort of purple and blue livery, which is quite unique as a sort of this could be you sort of attempt to attract drivers, I think, which I can sympathize with as somebody who lost both their drivers in between seasons and had to sign 2 new people. There were a lot of rejections. Nothing too particularly harsh, more just, oh, I'm busy driving elsewhere, or don't really want to go to FS2, basically, was the consensus, apart from 2, which I did sign, who were very keen to drive for me. But yeah, looks like Lorenzo has lost his front wing, is going to go back to the garage then. But we know what the livery looks like, at least, so that is one thing. Let's hope it's a good thing I'm not making a season preview for everybody this season, because that'd be the only footage we'd have of Bodor Racing.
I'm not fit for broadcast, I would say.
I guess we could put LEF footage on.
We could just put live.
We could just put LEF footage if we were playing properly. Anyway,
yeah.
There's Damien Cardas for Gallery 82 Motorsport. Of course, the Dutch outfit from the Netherlands. Used to be in Super Lights. Used to be a regular podium contender, actually, in Super Lights. But last couple of seasons, 2024 and 2025, were a bit tricky for them. And they, of course, have ended up moving down back to FS1, and yeah, Cardas was one of their sort of lead drivers. Michel Galker as well, and Pisa Colan, who we saw having a big off earlier on. And it's always a bit of an interesting one when a team gets bumped down a tier, whether they can regroup and sort of regain their winning form quickly, or if it's going to take them a little while, because it's not just the team that gets a little bit of confidence knocked out of it after a couple of bad seasons. Often it can affect the drivers, even if they're back in a tier where all of a sudden they're one of the faster drivers than one of the back markers, which can sometimes happen, as we see Cardas holding on beautifully to a slide there. But Gallery 82, their drivers were always fairly quick on occasion. It was just a case of getting to the end of races sometimes would be a bit of a tricky proposition for them. There'd be a lot of carbon fiber and wheels going off at a certain event, especially if it rained. Gallery 82 very rarely were able to keep out of trouble, and they've got to hope that the FS1 car will play a bit more to their strengths. As Cardas, there we go. As I said, not short on speed. They sets the 5th fastest time in his first proper clean lap on the soft tyres.
Yeah, certainly Gallery 82. I'll have to learn a bit more about them as the season progresses. But yeah, it's a shame 2025 in Super Lights did not pan out very well for them, finishing bottom of the standings on 11 points. But yeah, I suppose it's worth rebuilding the team, have a go in the 3rd tier, and see if you can your confidence back. Remember the feeling of podiums and maybe even victories. That is a great way to rebuild your team spirit, I suppose. And yeah, it definitely would be interesting if we can spot an Alpha Sierra as well, as they're also making the journey down a tier to try and make their way back up to the successful echelons, I suppose.
Back, because last time you and me were commentated together in 24, Alpha Sierra was in FS1. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, whatever happened in 2025 didn't happen. As we see, speaking of things that also didn't happen, Juho Soppinen does a big spin, just keeps it out of the wall. So well held there, but Juho certainly is having a lot of adventures out on track, but he is only a second off the pace in that Excelium, as we see another yellow car backing it into the wall behind Roboli there.
Is that Alpha Delta? Is that their rebrand or something like that? Whoa!
I think that might have been Eoin because it was bright yellow, so it might have been the Hue car, a yellow Hue.
Roboli, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Roboli making a few sandcastles there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good to see nearly 20 times on the board. Realistically, it should be, or 20 cars in the session since it began. It's good to see that. Potential probably 30 to 32 if everyone turned up, and there were a few reserve drivers as well willing to pan out for the team. And then here's Remco. So yes, we're talking about our broadcast colleague as well. Just oh dear, that's going to be a heavy hit. Hopefully,
the minute he saw us on stream, he decided to absolutely wreck that Excelium there. So yeah.
Yeah, time code. We'll have to pull up the time code from 1 minute or 1 hour 19, 50 seconds.
It's almost like Fabian was waiting to see if Remco would leave the pit lane to change the camera to him. And Remco certainly did not disappoint there. As we see Pisa Colan venturing back on track, Roman van Soest going by him on the soft tyres. I think both of them actually on the soft tyres on this run then. So yeah, Pisa Colan certainly being a bit more circumspect than he was in the early couple of minutes of the session then, and it'd be good for him to get a little bit more running under his belt for the pole. Gallery 82 does tend to go for Polish drivers, so sort of taking up the tradition of Multiforce GP, which ran an all Polish lineup last season, and there are a couple of other Polish teams as well, not least Hyperion Esports, of course, who I think are also moving up to SL2, and what was the Nexium pole team, of course, was the other Polish squad, unsurprisingly, with the team name like that. As we see Pisa Colan, oh dear, losing it quite early, and yeah, that's just a rear end that's absolutely misbehaving itself, and I think he's binned it at almost exactly the same corner that he was stranded on the apex over about 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, goodness gracious, these cars are looking very tricky to drive.
Tricky to set up, I think, as well.
Tricky to set up, yes, exactly. So hopefully by Melbourne, certainly the cobwebs will be well and truly shook off. Here's Pablo Serrano for 01 Esports here, ready to pick up where they left off in 2025. A solid mid-table team, and they would love to perhaps break through the barrier to try and get more results. Tom Lafont, Juho Soppinen was there, but he's moved on. Then we saw some drives from Jesper Eriksson and Michael Falkenhayn for the German outfit as well. So yeah, good to see 0-1 encouraged by their success and learning experiences. So yeah, it'd be good to see them have a go in 2026.
Yeah, 0-1 sort of hired a very, very good lineup sort of mid-season. The problem was that a lot of their early drivers, like Tom Lafont, were not able to do beyond the first couple of races. I think Tom Lafont, did he come back for one or two? Did the Frenchman? I can't remember. But anyway, that seems to be the big issue for 0-1, getting some consistency in the driver lineup. So Serrano's there. Looks like Alexander Ragota used to drive the Gallery 82 fairly successfully as well in Superlights. He could be another big asset to that team. Not be surprised to see Ragota doing the full season for 0-1. But Pablo Serrano, another name that's slightly unfamiliar to me, so I'll be interested to see how he gets on as well. And yeah, there's I often feel bad as a commentator when there's a new driver that I'm not familiar with, that maybe has had huge success elsewhere, has not been in GPV for over 10 years or something, like as is the case for Gagzella. It's just like there's only so much that I can add, but I guess you only know what you can know, and the most talking they can do is really on the track, and maybe even in a couple of interviews later on as well. Nobody's quite ventured down to the interview waiting room yet, but of course we've still got an hour to go until things end, so they're very welcome to pop in if they wish, because I think me and Eoin, the only thing we haven't really talked about is the calendar, and that's only because it's pretty much the same other than the dates for all the other tiers. So I sort of feel like we start on the 5th of March, we know that. We end in FS1 in Interlagos on the 29th of October. But there you go. 16 rounds form the backbone of our season. And some interesting venues there. Of course, return to Sepang. Return to, I think San Marino was absent in last year's calendar, was it? I'm pretty sure it was. I don't remember going to
I probably missed it. It was in that summer stretch. If it
That's true, yeah. Oh, no, there wasn't that where there was a massive crash in Superlight. I always seem to get a couple of years mixed up or something. It might have been 2024 where there was a big crash at the start of the Superlights race in Imola that took out a big percentage of the field. I must have been, yeah, because I used it in the preview video for 25. But yeah, so German Grand Prix, not sure. I think that's going to be at the Hockenheimring rather than Nürburgring, which was the scene of plenty of drama while you were absent last season, Eoin. As we saw in the intro, that sort of final corner reverse grid melee where Menno came through from absolutely nowhere as the top three all took themselves out, essentially. So yeah, certainly some fun times out there. If your name was Menno Klont, but I believe Menno may have other plans this season. Certainly he's not stayed with the KKR team, so they, as we said, are looking for potentially a second driver, and it may well end up being Oliver Hargitay.
I was just reading YouTube chat again, so yeah. Our first proper pronunciation guide of the season, provided by Spring GRPL. It's Pusikolan, not Bichikolan. So thanks very much for the correction there. Always appreciated. May not go down straight away in the old memory bank, but yeah, it's always very helpful.
I was trying to say Pisikolan.
Yeah, Pisikolan, but it's Pichikolan.
Yeah, I think Sprin might have misheard us there, because I definitely didn't say that. Anyway, Ross McIntyre says, I'm here to provide Damien Cardes propaganda. You're witnessing a 2026 SFS1 champ right now, which I think is quite a bold prediction there. But anyway, Krzysztof starts another lap, currently 16th and last, 5.8 seconds off the pace on the soft tyre then. So Jerez, so far from the current evidence, Jerez does not seem to be his circuit, and the rear tyres of that Gallery 82 do not agree with him. But yeah, certainly a couple of other tyres being pumped in. Frank Hamming now finally breaks into the 119.8, and we see Vetten Sust, Soppinen and Cardes are all improving behind him as well.
Careful. One of the overpowered cars there, almost losing control on that turn 5 curb. That all seems right in the world there. It's back in a correct posture. It's Scott Flack, actually, so yeah, that will definitely keep him on his toes. He wants to try and get within, I'm sure, a couple more seconds of the top time. Yeah, definitely Alessandro set an early benchmark. That's yet to be beaten in 47 minutes. Oh, and another one there. So that lap is definitely gone.
Yeah, I think Scott is sort of waiting for some gap to emerge here. rather than being on a serious run himself, knowing, oh, as we see big crash ahead of him. So there we go. That is one Gallery 82 out of the way in the form of Piscolan. But Piscolan takes his tail between his legs and goes back to the pit lane. We have, by the way, only got a first team owner that wants to be interviewed by us, who's waiting patiently in the waiting room. It is Lorenzo Terovic Funchik. So shall we drag him in as we see, James Knox, of course, one of a good friend of his, it seems, is having a test in the Bodor Racing car. So let's see what a man who scored several podiums, was very competitive in FS2 last season, and James thinks maybe it's time to do a bit of testing in FS1.
Let's hear from Lorenzo. I'll be delighted to hear from him.
All right, okay then. Lorenzo Terovic Funchik joins us now from the Bodor Racing team. Lorenzo, looked like you were having some adventures out there, and it seems you haven't quite made decisions on your driver lineup yet, as we see James Knox sliding the rear tyres behind one of the HGPs.
But no, I've got my driver lineup. It's just not here today because they can't do it.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I'm just here for bands, really, because I wanted to show off my livery and no one else was here. And then James was in the YouTube chat saying, "Do you want me to show up?" So I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then he did. So, cheers, James. Good luck in Superlights this year, mate.
And he's, of course, an FS2 team owner as well, isn't he, with the Fox Racing team?
Yes.
Having a bust. I joked in the FS2 preseason testing because I got roped into doing a bit of that. That James had stolen one of my drivers, but of course Magnus is very much Magnus Ockenhag had very much chosen to drive for him. So yeah, James certainly has got experience both behind. Behind the cockpit. You're still in the cockpit, so out of the cockpit and inside the cockpit. There we go. And you yourself, I'm sure, can tell some similar stories, Lorenzo. So, of course, obviously for LEF last season, it was very much a first go. You finished P12 in the standings behind 100 to 1, I think, on 84 points. You were 4 ahead of Hyperion, who had a bit of a difficult season. Are you expecting a top 12 again? Would that satisfy you, or are you aiming for maybe top 10 or better?
I think we can do better in our second year than in our first year. You say Hyperion had a bad year, I absolutely agree, but I mean, they're now in Superlights, and I don't see why we cannot improve on our bad year last season. Despite the fact it was our first year, we were still a bit of a revolving door throughout the season for drivers. At the end, we had 14 different drivers for 16 rounds, so that's nearly different lineup every single round, and I don't want that to happen this year again. I'm confident in my lineup for this year, which is Alexander Gonzalez Green, who stayed on, and partnering him will be James Juba, who has driven in Superlights and FS1 before with moderate success. So I'm confident in the lineup, and even if either of them cannot attend, I'm confident that I'll be able to find in the driver pool that I know of a competent enough driver to fill in for them for the round or rounds they cannot do. For example, I'm a fairly good friend, I would say, with Cody Nikolodkovsky, so he is very much an option to fill in for either of them if they cannot do it. He's offered himself prior to preseason testing already to that role, so you know, I think we can do better this year. I'm not gonna be ambitious and say something outrageous like top 3 or top 5. I think we can be somewhere around 7th or 8th, at most 6th. If we're lucky, like really lucky, we can break into the top 5, but that's stretching it really, really far. But I do think we can do better than 12th this year, and much better.
And of course, Alex Gonzalez Green drove for the team last season. Got a couple of strong results. Luck wasn't always necessarily on AGG's side in 2025. What's the feeling like going into this season? Are you expecting James Juba to really help him develop in his second full FS1 season? Or do you think Alex is definitely going to be building on his own experiences in 26?
I think the thing with Alex is, outside of GPVWC, he doesn't do any sort of league racing on R Factor 2. So the first season for him, I mean, prior to that, he did 2 academy rounds and 1 FS2 round in 2024, and then 2025 was really his full-time debut in GPVWC, and he really had nobody to work with through the year to help him get more accustomed to the car and things like that. So the results he got mostly through his own merit. Obviously, we were part of ESA last season, but obviously things didn't really work out. With no offense, obviously, to Carter, McColeman, and everyone involved in ESA, it just wasn't meant to be, really. But this year, I'm running my own sort of team group, which involves us and Team Hue Performance and Team Iris. So
Ooh, good
that'll be
picks.
three. Yeah, that'll be us three working together. And I do think that the drivers that we're gonna have inside our group are gonna be really good, just overall, and to help Alex as well. And that's not to say that I don't believe in Alex's abilities. I know what he can do. I mean, he's shown it, for example, at Abu Dhabi, where he got double points. I think it was 12th and 8th or 12th and 10th. Fairly certainly got a similar result in Montreal as well. It's just a matter of both luck and someone being there to support him. And I think this year, especially with James, who, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, did do Superlights and FS1 with moderate success a couple of years back, I do think that this will be a good pairing, and I'm fairly hopeful for this year. Not just for my team, but for the group in general. Obviously, Team Iris, Christian Malharek coming back after, I think, 10 years away from the league, and partnering will be Philip Koenig, and then Alessandro Iannone over at Hue Performance, and he's going to be partnered by the Czech, I guess you could say, super sub in FS2 up until now. Alex Day is going to be over there.
I used to know a lot more about the lineups than I've been told, which is absolutely nothing. And with the website down, there's no way for me to check. So.
well, there's been people who've been keeping track of rumors and confirmations and whatnot. I'm fairly
I don't put
certain
any stock in any of that nonsense.
I'm fairly certain.
People can
I'm fairly
make any
certain-
kind of rumor they want that, I don't know, Ralph Schumacher's coming to drive for the FS2 team or something. I don't know.
I'm fairly certain both Philip Chawinski and James Knox have their own little spreadsheets with all the lineups all neatly put together and whatnot. So I know basically every single lineup in FS1 and FS2, because those are the 2 series really that I'm looking the most forwards to.
Maybe you should commentate on this instead of us.
Well,
It's okay.
Well, I'm already taken up with FS2.
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
That is true.
Oh, anyway,
yeah.
oh sorry. Owen, did you have any questions?
I did
'Cause
actually. Yeah. So it's good to hear from you again, Lorenzo. I suppose my question is, now that you can reveal all, I know you had to keep your secrets back at the end, Abu Dhabi, when we last chatted, but where does the name Bodor Racing come from? Is there a particular inspiration?
I wouldn't say inspiration so much as the word does come from. Well, it used to be a derogatory, but now it's just really. Don't sigh like that.
No, I'm not offended.
No. Listen. I do want this to make sense. It used to be like a joking, derogatory name for people who hail from the islands in the middle of Dalmatia, so the coast of Croatia and whatnot. But over time, it just sort of became like a common way to call all those people from the islands to think together.
So you're reclaiming it then?
You could say so. I'm not really reclaiming a word that's kind of lost its original meaning, and now it's just like.
Oh, so it's
No,
like 6-7 or something like that. Cheese food. What's the cheese food sponsor on the side, by the way?
That is of a friend of mine called Zach Armstrong, who does his own. I say does his own. He does commentary and streams for various NR 2003 leagues, and I've known him for a year now. He's a lovely guy. Both Alex and me know him. So
Is that one
I
of his
think-
catchphrases in commentary? Just
No, no,
cheese
no.
feed. I should use that one.
No, that's just that's just the name of the broadcasting service he runs.
Oh, okay, right. There we go. That makes slightly more sense, I guess. Even though it has nothing to do with catering, is what
It's
instantly comes to my
pre-season
mind.
testing, and
cheese
I'm
feed.
already inadvertently plugging people.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, I had questions and I wanted them answered. Anyway, it was gonna bother
Fair
me if
enough.
I didn't know. But anyway, that's I guess that's all from me. So yeah, thanks for letting us know, Lorenzo. I'll try and keep in mind what you've told me. I imagine you're going to be asking Eoin for setups before too long for your drivers.
No.
Well, you got
Wouldn't
James
say
for
so.
that, haven't you? Yeah, who's also
well,
very
no,
experienced.
because James is gonna be a super light. He's gonna be devoting his time to that. And I did say that our 3 teams are going to be working together in a group, and I don't expect just 1 or 2 people to be pulling the strings setups wise and everything. I do want everyone to work together to provide something, and otherwise it would feel wrong for them to get something in return. Where, objectively speaking, of course, I do love the drivers who are part of my group, but if you're just not gonna contribute, not gonna be part of team practice, then I mean, it does feel sort of wrong for you to just show up, get served a setup on a platter, and just, you get what I mean? It
I know.
doesn't.
Most
really
setups
surround
don't
me.
come with a complimentary platter, in my experience. Why is this conversation lean towards food more than anything else? Thought we'd all eaten dinner.
I see Ross in the YouTube chat asking if I feel guilty about throwing him a Manchester City badge on the bus at GPV Day. No, that was funny, Ross. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ooh. Let's go get Remco. Does he just putting the Excelium motorsport car through its paces then? But yeah, unless Owen, you had any more questions, I think we can probably let Lorenzo go on his way and continue to.
That was a very, very comprehensive answer, to be honest. I really appreciate that. So I've learned something brand new today. So I suppose I'll let Lorenzo get back to preseason work. And yeah, I found that negotiation with James in the YouTube chat absolutely hilarious. So thanks for that.
I mean, it just sort of happened, you know.
Yeah. They're all great with the facts. So yeah, brilliant stuff. And I saw hi to Amir for me as well. So I wish his best luck in the commentary as well.
I'll probably leave the preseason testing in about a couple minutes because Amir and me have commentary to do. Alright.
Ah, okay.
And no rest for the wicked, eh? But anyway, best of luck to you, Adam.
Thank you. Take care.
So then we nearly hit the 1 hour expired, 1 hour remaining mark. Damien Cardas lining up the middle sector, 29.273, fastest of anybody. Personal best in the first sector, so this is looking like a good lap for the Polish Gallery 82 driver. Into the final corner he comes, on his soft tyres then. He accelerates out of Jorge Lorenzo corner, turn 13. Powers towards the line, and what's this going to be? A 119.3. He displaces Christian Malcharik for P2 there. So Cardas showing a bit of the form that we only saw on occasion in Super Lights in the last couple of seasons. And that's a very, very encouraging sign. Only just over a tenth of a second off of Ioanne's pace-setting time from the first 20 minutes of the session then. And there's his teammate Michal Galka down in P7, hoping to emulate that on his own set of soft tyres. So Gallery 82 definitely in high spirits, it would seem, at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. Great to see how seriously
somebody's
they're
lost a front
gonna
wing in the middle of the
apply
curb there.
themselves. Yeah, it's pre-season, just to, as we discussed a little earlier on, to finish bottom of your championship is never pleasant whatsoever. But yeah, the fact that they are now in the third tier instead hopefully means they're excited for a brand new opportunity, as he now has to pull aside there, Michael. So good observational driving as well. And yeah, we're almost having 20 drivers with a lap time set, I suppose. Yeah, definitely 18 drivers absolutely locked in with a time of some sort. And yeah, we might get a few attendees with hour number 2 underway now.
Yeah, certainly. If this was it wasn't half term, this would be about when Cub Scouts would be ending for me. So it's a good thing we do have our races on Thursdays, from my point of view, usually. So yeah, maybe somebody else is in a similar situation on Tuesdays nights. But But yeah, it was great hearing from Lorenzo there, and of course a lot of our team. We've also got Matthew McKinnon, who I believe has been sitting in watching the session and watching his KKR cars negotiate the circuit. Then as looks like Galka and Pablo Serrano setting personal best first sectors out there. As Alexander Ragota for 0-1 also goes P7 with a 119.9. So we are starting to see our top 7 all in the 119s, and they're fairly closely bunched together. So just 7/10 separates our top 10 as well, I think. Or is it no, about our top 8?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely all spread out earlier on with Eoin going hammer and tongs immediately. And now more stable lap times are being logged. And Raymond Vansos there in P6 as we watch Galka. He is on course. He's about evenly matched with his previous best. Up 2/10 Sector 1, down 2/10 in Sector 2. So what is the final balance going to be? Should definitely be 1:19. That's lovely. Well done again from Mikhail there to get up to 4th place.
Yeah, there we go. 3/10 behind Christian Maltrek, who of course we know is coming back after a 10-year absence and is going to be one of the lead drivers at Team Iris in 2026. So it'll be exciting to see how he gets on then. And yeah, it definitely feels like FS1 surprisingly fairly stacked. It's going to be difficult to really tell who is going to be there to watch, especially if not all the drivers competing show up in this preseason test. It could be very, very different front row once we get to Melbourne, essentially, in qualifying. But yeah, certainly, I would think in terms of the top teams to look out for, I think this team, HGP, with Hamming and Gaxella, are definitely be ones to watch. I think, again, we're going to be seeing the likes of Overpower and KKR. I expect to be quite strong. As they were on occasions, certainly last season. Gather 82, we talked about moving down. I think they've got so much experience that they should also be one of the podium contenders as well. And we might get a couple of surprises like Eoin in his new performance, who of course has been one of the standout stories of testing and the sort of back end of last season as well, where he was definitely a bit of a David amongst the Goliaths, as it were. And definitely nobody expected some of the performances that he put in then. So yeah, I think I would be very surprised if we didn't see Eoin bagging maybe a reverse grid win or two come the start of the 26th season.
Yeah, it's definitely a bet that's worth a few punters, I'd say.
Scott Flack fastest in the first sector.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
That's good. It's not bad.
Sorry, I thought someone might have gone wide, but yeah.
I said Scott Flack's name and immediately the worst case scenario popped
Scott,
into you.
Barry Scott, beg your pardon.
And I thought he was the pessimist.
Yeah, I hope they'll accept my apology there, but if this lap carries on, looking smooth here. And yeah, purple again. So hopefully that yellow flag is not valid for his...
Well, it's behind him, I think, because it was in the first sector. Purple sector 2 as well. He's looking very well hooked up then. So halfway through the session, Scott Flax has decided to absolutely go for it as he comes into Jorge Lorenzo corner. Oh, a little bit of twitching on exit, but this is looking very, very strong. Towards the line he comes, and it's the fastest of the session so far, 119.1. So Flack is not far off getting into the 118s at this point.
Yeah, very, very close. So Alessandro's dominance is now over. He had his time on top, and he has to fight to get it all back again. So well done to Scott Flack for that time, and he's willing to have another go here. So we haven't seen too many consecutive strong times here within probably 3/4 of a second off their personal best. So pushing hard, but down by half a second in this lap.
And we've seen already that the rear tires do tend to wear out or overheat quite quickly at this circuit, and that's why we saw so many in the early part of the session really struggling to get them under control as well in the first few minutes, especially the less experienced or returning to FS1 drivers, I should say, in some cases after long absences. But yeah, they all are generally getting a feel for this car now, which is good to see. And Scott Flack, a big strength of his, pretty much throughout his career, has been qualifying. He is an absolute master at sort of nailing a lap under those conditions, and predictably, he is coming in, you would expect, for a fresh set of tyres here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's just giving that car extra wiggles just to sense the behaviour of it. Remco, how about this? Could he get a 1 minute 20 here? Hopefully, maybe 121. Yeah, 121.556. So that will give him a PB, but it doesn't actually improve any of his positions. But Excelion will be pretty satisfied with that, with Soppinen as well, solidly 7th in the standings.
Yeah, as I said, would be very surprised to see Remco participating. But of course, he was a very, very competitive Super Lights driver about 2 years ago, essentially, wasn't he? And yeah, for his Fusion Racing team, and of course, he's very heavily involved at Optimal Esports as well, which we know are one of the big teams. Aren't they moving up to Super League this season? Because they were in Super Lights last season, but I think they are one of the teams that's moving up to the top tier for the first time. So I know Remco is going to be very, very excited about that, if I've remembered correctly. Yeah, this is, again, I don't have a sheet in front of me that tells me who's going where, like James Knox and his mates have.
Yeah, well, good to have the information when it's fully prepared. Is better, certainly, when everyone is satisfied with their team lineup, rather than, as you were saying, Ed, a bit earlier on, the rumor mill dictating things. So
yeah, it does make it a bit frustrating for us, though.
I know, of course, we're not as fully, I suppose, sharpened after our time off. GPVWC.
Say that again.
Yeah. Well, it's the long season, so I'll enjoy the downs. What could Hoekstra there? Another solid lap time, but not enough to get him a bit of time for people. And Serrano as well. Out of reach there.
I'm not sure if this is a me problem, but you're sounding slightly robotic on my end, Eoin.
Oh, dear. Okay. Sorry about that.
But anyway, 50 minutes left to go in the session. Oh dear, and there's one of the KKR cars, I think, has spun it around and quickly gets out of Wopke Hoekstra's way there as the Dutchman continues on a lap for CM Tech Racing. And CM Tech, I believe, are another of our new teams. I don't think they're a rebranded team. They're definitely a new entry for the 2026 Formula Sprint 1 season. Oh, there we go, Hoekstra.
No.
There we go. Sounds like you're back, Eoin.
Okay,
But, yeah, that was just into turn 8, wasn't it? That poor Wopke Hoekstra just absolutely spent it around. I think Caitlin was calling him Wonky Hoekstra at one point. Hopefully Wopke doesn't mind too much. It's not the most affectionate of nicknames, but on occasions, yeah, he was really struggling with the Super League car, and yeah, certainly it's going to take a bit more. He's got so much experience, but he can't always apply it in every situation that he's in, sadly. But yeah, Wopke Hoekstra, I'm sure, will be working around the clock to make sure that CM Tech are prepared for the start of the season. As Riboli showing just how easy it is into the same corner, has a big moment of his own, but he is able to collect it and get back on track fairly quickly.
A good recovery there. Yeah, we'll have to see if he can get back on full tilt before.
Doesn't look quite as well balanced as Flack in the assister Overpower, does he? So I think potentially Scott Flack has got a very good setup that works for him, and Riboli might be giving it a go himself now, seeing it's not so easy to set the fastest lap and keep it on track.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, you can study your teammates' telemetry for hours on end, but it has to be something that you can apply yourself, or else you have to think of your own strategy. So yeah, with Scott, that beautiful lap we saw, he has his own driving style, and it's up to the other drivers and indeed Massimiliano to try and use his skills to try and equal or better that. So that's always a challenge with the team battles. How can you be the best without having to compromise on your particular style too much? Of course, you always have to be ready to adapt in every situation, but sometimes it's better just to stick with what you know best and go from there.
Speaking of being the best, Flack has just set 2 more purple sectors on his current lap then. So Scott Flack absolutely flying out there And yeah, certainly he may only have one or two. It's only one win, I think, he has in FS1 so far. But yeah, certainly he has always been in and about in the threat for pole position, isn't he? As he cowstores the line, powers towards it in the Overpower, and he has broken into the 118s. It's a 118.84 tenths clear of Eoin there. So Scott Flack is really starting to show everybody how this Jerez circuit should be lapped then. And yeah, brilliant in pretty much every sector there, especially the middle sector looking very, very strong.
Of course, yeah, not a single complaint there, I'm sure, for Scott. He's definitely found a particular setup that suits his approach here around Jerez. So yeah, this time he will have probably burnt up these set of tires a little bit too quickly, but I'm sure he won't mind that much. Gallery 82, though, you can see their pairing is together, Damien and Mikhail. So a great duo for Gallery 82. And Emmanuel Gatchella in the HGP rounds up the current top 5, but that can all change as Raboli, I was probably saying as well, for Overpower, he needs to find whatever suits his style, and he's going green in the first sectors. So one more to go.
Yep, certainly this has been encouraging middle of this test for Overpower then. And of course, with all their links to Super Venturi, I think you can even see the Super Venturi logo, I think, on the engine cover. There's James Knox, gets the Bodor car up to P4 with a 119.5, and Riboli to the line beats that immediately with a 119.4, just 85 thousandths quicker and 39 thousandths behind Damien Cardas. So that's an incredibly close pack fighting for P3. Everybody down to Gakzella within about a tenth and a half or so.
Absolutely, and I've just got a ping in my inbox. Juho Soppinen for Excelium wants to have a chat, so let's have him in.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, I didn't notice that.
Hello.
Hey, Juho, welcome on in, and good to hear from you after the time off. So yeah, you're signed up for Excelion, I believe it is. You've transferred over. So how are you finding it so far?
Well, as a emergency driver only, it's looking pretty good. Car feels like a proper car this time around, and yeah, the car feels a bit more better in my opinion. And there's a lot of grip compared to last year, but I think there's gonna be more changes possibly in the future, so it's not going to be so how do I say it? It's not going to be the greatest feeling car, but in my opinion it's still a car at least. So it steers and drives and then accelerates.
You have a low bar for what a car is, my friend.
I'm joking about the car. Of course I like the car, to be fair. It suits my driving style as well. It's a massive improvement from last year.
Just watching Remco drive at the moment, and we're not 100% sure of each and every lineup so far for this campaign, but yeah, Excelion, I think would have been promoted up from FS2 last season, so it's definitely a step up. That hopefully whatever lineup is ready to go with yourself as backup, Juho.
Well,
what do you think is the feeling inside the team for the campaign ahead?
Pretty much positive in this team. I think you could look at from my onboard camera, see who's driving. Whoa, there's a crash in the back as well.
That might have been Van Sust having a bit of an off after seeing a personal best lap there.
Yep. But yeah, I mean Remco's doing really good in the car as well, putting some decent pace on laps as well. But I think there is a lot to work on for this year, since Excelion, I nearly said Hyperion, but Excelion got promoted from FS2 to FS1 with a really great season, to be fair. And of course Remco now driving for FS1 as he's a very experienced driver, as he's doing good, and yeah, as you can see, he's just following another car behind. That's, I think, Is that a KKR?
Yeah, it looks like it. I didn't
No,
know
it's-
Remco was doing
no,
a full
it's-
season.
Test delivery. I forgot
That's
who's
a
the plane.
that's a 0-1. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
just realized.
KK, I've got a black livery, so it's,
Yeah.
it's a bit tricky from a distance, but it is one of the 0-1s. You're absolutely right there. I'm surprised
Very
that
tricky.
Remco is doing the full season because he said a couple of years ago that he was retiring from sort of being a driver. So I'm surprised to see him back and going back on that decision almost immediately.
Remco. The thing in the broadcast now.
Yeah. By the way, the livery looks nice. It reminds me of Renault from 2002, 2006. To be fair.
Yeah, a lot of people saying it looked like the Kings Racing livery that they use in the
Yeah.
Super Lights.
Yeah, a lot actually said it looks like a King's Racing livery, which I totally agree. I mean, someone actually said that it looks like a Swedish flag, and I really hate the fact.
It's like an
that someone-
IKEA car. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Excelium should have a IKEA sponsor on the car. To be-
Oh.
Right.
Don't hit the tires.
Oh, no.
Just about. You're lucky.
Yeah.
It's just a dent. It's just a dent. on the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Fresh tires would be grand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gotta
at
love the
least,
blue wheels as well on the Excelium as well.
Yeah, I like the touch of that. To be fair, just gives a lot of identity to it as well.
So you, of course, Excelium moving up from FS2, and it's a similar story for you. I believe you're the emergency, but you're also going to be doing your FS2 campaign. Who was it with again? Which team?
McKenna Racing
yes,
Motorsport.
I did. I can't remember the name.
It's actually McKenna Racing. Just had to had to bring up the past from preseason testing at FS2.
Yeah, well, I just couldn't remember then. But do you think doing a bit of FS1 is gonna, if you say do the odd FS1 race, and I think, no, I'm pretty sure you haven't done one before, have you? You've just been the substitute, and most of your driving's been in FS2 so far. So, do you think that's going to help you in terms of looking for your sort of future career, or is anything other than being in the FS2 car? Serrano has a big snap into.
That gave me a big scare. No, I did some FS1 races for 0-1 for 3 races.
Yeah, that was it. Yes, I remember.
Yeah,
that.
primary, and then also one emergency drive for Pixelate as well.
That was it. Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, I think well, going up to the FS2 season, it's going to be really challenging, of course. But in FS1, I would want to get much more experience as well, and try to maximize all of the experience to get on with it. Just get on with it. I think I should have that on my helmet. Get on with it.
Yeah, or you should just say to yourself mid-race repeatedly, "Get on with it, yeah."
I'm gonna wake up the neighbors by saying that.
That's true.
Yeah,
you do tend to be pretty loud in the car.
Yeah, do tend to be really loud in the car, but I mean, I don't have a sensor button, but I'm not gonna either way swear. I've already gotten so many fines.
Wow, yeah.
I've my checked that.
Machine last season. I remember that much.
Yeah, I've got no much money left, so
The swear
I'm not
jar is being emptied as we speak.
yeah, either way. But as we also see, yeah, that's the KKR livery.
There it is, yeah.
It looks it looks fairly, very black. From
I
what
think it's
saw
just their
from the movie.
testing livery. Yeah, they might have a slightly different one come the first
Yeah,
race. Whoa,
Whoa,
definitely
that's,
hitting the wall there.
Oh, that is a huge hit.
Sometimes when you know you're going to lose it, you just sort of let it go, though, rather than coming back onto the racing line in front of everybody.
Yeah, it's just you just gotta let go, and oh my goodness, I hope you're not hearing that from the background, but there's
No. It's okay,
There's-
ignore it.
there's some music. There's a massive, like a massive boombox in the background. So,
Didn't realize you were in like an 80s movie at the moment. You heard? There's like some dance off going on at your place.
yeah, no, but either way, well, Well, either way, just to clarify, the car feels good and the team is pretty positive. Hopefully, there's gonna be a lot of action going on this season as well. As I gotta say, the car feels really good. As Hagatai had a moment there.
Nothing too major. He seems to have it under control. But anyway, I'm sort of running out of questions for you, Yuho. But anyway, from my end, just best of luck for FS2 with McKenna. And yeah, fingers crossed that we do get to see you in action again in FS1 sometime soon. But I'm sure you're going to be cheering on Remco and whoever his teammate is at Excelium once the season gets going.
I think the cameraman has to move to the onboard of mine so he could see the name. Actually, there you go.
Oh, it's Cedric Bill. Oh, I know him. He's a race winner in FSR Pro. Double race winner, actually.
Yeah, he's a very good driver, to be fair. So I'm pretty happy to see him also driving FS1 as well.
Very, very consistent, Cedric Bill.
Yeah, pretty much. And of course, yeah, I was like having the target on him as there we go.
Oh, it is Remco. There we go. Remco's got his name in it, so he's definitely going to be in the cockpit.
No, look at the...
Terrible. It's a joke. Z-U-E-E-W is wrong.
Zui.
Yeah, Zui.
Well, it's a new team. You can't expect to know Remco's name.
I think Lorenzo said in the chat that it looks like a Luxembourg flag.
It does, yes. It's a slightly lighter blue.
It
does.
I thought it was a Hungarian flag at first on Remco's car, but it's clearly a light blue.
I'm gonna text Roy about this as well.
There we go.
I've already given the the screenshot to him that it says Remco de Zuev. Now he has realized it.
Yeah, so certainly.
But another error, Luxembourg flag instead of the Dutch flag.
Yeah, it looks like the animals will have to return to the Remco de Zoo. That's awful. Hey, that's what's spelled on the car.
Well, you tried at least. I'll give props to you props for that at least.
Some quick laps being set at the moment. Scott Flack sets another purple first sector, and his teammate Ruboli goes second fastest, 1:19.137. So yeah, Overpower really starting to take control of this test here at Jerez, and we also see improvements from Van Soest, who also goes past Eoin. So Eoin has fallen from second that early 1:19.2. He's now fallen to fourth, albeit only by less than a tenth of a second behind second.
Whoa!
Big snap for Flack then towards the line. It's still going to be faster. 1:18.5.
I've seen him set a lot of fast laps during the practice, but that was insane. And yes, I'm joining as a third commentator, it seems like.
Well, I mean, you're a full-time driver, so I wouldn't object too much as long as you let me and Eoin get a word in now and again.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I'm going to be a commentator in the academy, so yeah,
Yes.
It's true, yeah. I wish you all the best on that front.
Yeah, for sure. I need to get a partner, at least.
It sounded like I said I need you to comment out on the Mondays. Well, I mean, I've got Beaver Scouts on like Monday evenings. That's only for about an hour, so that ends at about like 7. So I should be able to get back if you really needed me on Monday.
Possibly. Or...
Anyway, this is I'm sure riveting discussion for the people who tuned in for this test session. So
where we're all
going
mad and Wopka.
Wow,
that was beautiful. Well done.
Hoekstra hooks it up. Wow. Very well done there. He was sort of slowly improving as the session was going on, getting just solidly into the top 10, and then he pumps in a 1:19.0. So yeah, that displaces Van Soest, who just gotten ahead of Riboli there. So yeah, behind Scott Flack, they're all very, very closely tucked in together all the way down to P9, really. Nobody's more than a tenth of a second apart. And that is a very competitive sign, I think, for the season ahead, potentially. Anyway, shall we let poor Yuho go?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's been very appreciated. It's been great to have a chat with you again, and we've learned plenty about your team today, the Excelium. So
yep.
that. Excelium.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Excelium.
It's going to accelerate.
You're all
The
equal
team
now.
is called
We're getting the
accelerate.
teams.
Yeah.
We're getting the teams. One each.
Excellent Excelion.
Exactly. I think that was a line from one of the season previews that I made Toby say. Can he excel with Excelium?
Wait, I've got to see. I've got to see that again. If that's actually true.
I'm pretty sure it is, because I remember writing it, and I remember Toby just about being able to say it with a straight face. Anyway, there's the second, another CM Tech racing car. We've seen Hoekstra go P2, Magnus Ockenhaug, serial winner, former Underbird simulation driver, of course, now Fox Esports driver in FS2. He has gotten on board the yellow and dark blue machine, the Norwegian. Then joining the session, we were also seeing Scuderia Cap Clay, another of our FS2 promoted teams. Kakpa Mikalak has joined in the red and white machine. So that's going to be fascinating to see how the Cap Clay gets on here.
Do you know? I mean, the CM Tech looks like a King's Racing, in my opinion, actually.
And that's Menno Klon's car that
Whoa.
Magnus is on board as well. As you can see, Menno's name on top. So we know where he's driving then.
Oh, and is that a Multiforce logo that I'm seeing?
Looks a bit like it. Yeah, I guess the
probably
team's gone,
being
so
tribute,
Menno.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Matthew McKinnon's saying, well, Menno drove for my team. He doesn't put our logo on the car. But I guess KKR's still there, whereas Multiforce retired, so it sort of adds up. Knox goes P3 and Magnus. Oh, big opposite lock there as he loses it through the hairpin. But James Knox gets the Bodor car into the 119.1s, just 66 thousandths behind Vopke Hoekstra there. So very, very competitive. A man who was in Super League last season, just slightly faster than James Knox, of course, is a race winner and a podium finisher in FS2. So yeah, both drivers are in a massive hurry. Anyway, I think we're trying to let Yuho go for several minutes now. And he's not taking the hint, so we might have to literally drag him out of the commentary box.
I was just here to. I just wanted to. I just wanted to do a little bit of commentating.
I suppose you're done in terms of driving then for the final 30 minutes. So you want to stay? Fair enough, I guess.
I can say, for sure.
As long as Owen's fine with it.
I don't know. It's up to the media team. Will they be on our case if we've 3 commentators?
Got to ask.
It's a pretty dull test, let's be fair. It's not a whole lot. I don't think anybody else is coming in for an interview in these final 30 minutes until it ends. So, yeah, we could be filling time.
Yeah, it's
for
up
quite a lot of
to
this.
the other competitors. You can't have 4 people in the.
That's true. That's true. Okay, if we interview people, you have to be quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, Fabian needs to concentrate. So, yeah,
For sure.
Juho out if anyone wants to have an interview.
Okay.
Fair deal.
Fair deal.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, somebody's
Wow.
back into the
Goodness,
pit
wow.
wall there. That looks like one of the 0-1 cars. I think it might be Serrano. Had a big moment there. But yeah, Eoin desperately trying to better his time from earlier in the session. That it looks like all of our top drivers in the top 9 have gone back onto the soft tyre. Frank Hamming is one of the few that sort of stayed sort of mid-table on the hards for pretty much all session long. He's gone off the softs very early onto the mediums and the hards. And at the moment, he's lapping in the sort of 120.9 as Eoin takes a fistful of DRS board and finds himself going through the gravel.
I mean,
No, go ahead, Juho. Sorry.
Hamming it looks to be really fast on those hard tires. To be fair, setting a blistering pace of 119.8 at least. Yeah, 119.8. It looks to be it's on low fuel or high fuel, but
The 119.8 was on the softs. He's done 7 laps. On the,
all right, all
So
right.
actually, I did tell like he recently switched to doing long runs on the hard tires. He did do 16 laps stint on the softs earlier, where he was pretty consistently in the 1 minute 20s, 21s, and 22s.
Those are some really good times from him, to be fair. So I think mostly that's gonna be a really blistering pace from him because 120s, 121s, they're good on the hard tires as well.
We also don't know how much fuel is in there, whether he was doing those 16 laps, trying to do long runs to basically keep the softs alive for as long as possible, as well as we Van Soest displays James Knox and go P3. So another driver breaks into the 119 zeros, but only Flack in the 118s at the moment, although Hoekstra really pushing the back end of that car as he seeks to join him. Whoa, and joins the gravel.
Yeah, that turn 11, I know I just made the point that I love watching cars go through it at the beginning of the stream, but these FS1 cars are really fascinating to watch going through them. They're so difficult to get the perfect mix. So we'll see Christoph here. Yeah, looks good. So, well played. That's how
James Knox has been listening while he's been driving, because he's just said in the chat, I appreciate you saying I have a win, Ed, but I've never won anything in GPV. He's definitely scored the podiums as Beast and Colan.
Oh,
Whoa!
That was a late pit entry if I've ever seen one, and quite a disastrous one too.
In.
Oh yeah, no.
It's too expletive late, yes.
Yes.
Anyway, in the road to Kimi Räikkönen. But yeah, Kankpa Mikolak, that's our first glimpse of the Scuderia Cap Clay this season. And of course, they in FS2 in 2025.
No!
Oh dear!
Oh,
and
no.
that looks like Remco deciding to make a friend there.
Looks to me it's like it's one of the CM Tech cars, to be fair. That's Remco de Zoom. Hello.
It is one that, yeah. It is
Oh,
Magnus,
yeah,
so
right.
it was
Yeah,
Magnus,
that's-
wasn't it?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Magnus making a friend, not Remco. Always get the two interchanged. But yeah, Scuderia Cap Clay, what I was going to say, they were second to Potentia Grand Prix last season, of course. And Potentia were the runaway team's champions with Sandeep Singh and, of course, Domenico Scarpelli, their main drivers last season. So I'm not sure if Sandeep is going to try and stack up his long-awaited. It took him 6 years after his first attempt to win FS2, because he was second in 2019. And he, of course, was won many races in super lights. But it would be surprising to see Sandeep Singh competing in a FS1 this season, especially because he's, as I say, he's gone. Whoa, Magnus
That's
sees
also
somebody
how-
else go off in front of him, and he copies him exactly. So a carbon copy crash there. Anyway, certainly they're one of the highest FS2 graduates, Scuderia Cap Clay. So Mikolak, who a Polish driver, another who did a fair few races in FS1 last season. I believe he was he one of the Nexium pole team drivers, if memory serves? I think he was.
I think Touchpad was Nexium pole team driver. If not,
He was, yeah.
Mhm.
I seem to remember he had a couple of really strong races, Mikolak, and he's one of those drivers that had a lot of experience from a couple of years ago, where he was, I believe he might have been a race winner in FS1, like back in the days. We see Scott Flack, another purple first sector 23.2. So just when you think he is done a lap that's easily going to blow everyone away, he immediately gets to work on a fresh set of tyres on another one, although he hasn't gone any quicker in the middle sector, 29.1 there. Yeah, James Knox, 23.4 in the first sector. That's a personal best for him, so I have to see if he can turn that into a decent lap there. But yeah, it's definitely good to see somebody from Scuderia Cap Clay show up here for the final half hour of the session, because we sort of thought we weren't going to see any Scuderia Cap Clay action, and Potentia, of course, we've yet to see much of them. But knowing what Sandeep Singh did last season, he was signed quite late to the start of the season, and then basically it was him and Junio Lopez that were really the only ones in the mix for the title, as Sandeep very much cantered away to that championship, and deservedly so with his performances. As see James Knox at 119.0, he goes back into third place for Bodor Racing. So Lorenzo's going to be happy with that if he can stay there. But of course, 300ths behind Vopke Hoekstra, so it is getting very, very close in that fight for to be best of the rest, half a second down on Scott Flack.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, it's great to see James having a go pretty much last minute, not necessarily prepared, perhaps psychologically, until that YouTube discussion actually had a fruitful outcome. So yeah, well done to James.
One time
for having
the YouTube comments produce something productive rather than hateful and destructive.
Sure, that's the GPV magic for you.
So
Wapka going around the final corner. Nice high line before you can cut into the apex to begin the lap to get as much speed as possible. Here he goes through the first corner. He shall go. Good use
I
of
love the
curb
cookie
there.
on the top of Vopke's helmet as well.
Oh yeah, he's always had that. Yeah, it's a great little hot or sort of montage, or how would you say?
It's been his calling card, basically.
Calling card. That's the one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the Vopke cookie. He's also got the Multiforce logo, even though I'm pretty sure I've never seen Vopke Hoekstra in a Multiforce car unless there's some very obscure callback. So it definitely feels like the CM Tech racing team as a whole is a team that's got big Multiforce associations, not just Menno having driven from last season, just bring the logo with him. Maybe Vopke said, "Can I put the Multiforce logo on your car?" And Vopke said, "Yeah, why not?" I'm sure that wouldn't have been a very long discussion. As Vopke, two wheels on the grass there, as again through turn 8 and 9, the car just misbehaving and a big hit with the wall. As we get a good look at the MV Conquest logo. It's one of the key partners of GPVWC in all 4 tiers this season, which of course is Mihailo Vincentievich. He of course drives for the ST Racing team in FS2, but he has his main team is MV Conquest that he drives for and owns, and has done pretty much since he started his career back in about 2006, if I'm not mistaken. So 20 years for MV Conquest, and great to see them being commemorated on the trackside advertising. And yeah, certainly very, very popular figure in many R-Factor 2 championships is Mihailo, so he deserves a brief little shout out too before we go into the final 20 minutes of FS1 preseason testing here in Spain. As James Knox is again setting personal best first sectors. Eoin also improved his time to 119.1, but he is agonizingly 73 thousandths behind Rigoza, who is 1 single thousandth behind the MS performance of Roman Van Soest in 4th, and then Van Soest is 11 thousandths behind James Knox in 3rd then. So the margin's getting tighter and tighter and tighter then, as everybody leaves their best till last, and James Knox power slides the Bodor car out of the Jorge Lorenzo hairpin.
And that might have been a slight improvement there, just 3 thousandths behind Hoekstra. So yeah, we're really starting to see these cars stretched properly. They're no longer having a jog. It's a full-on sprint.
Everybody apart from Remco is on the softs now as well.
Yeah, that's it indeed. So yeah, watch out behind you if you're getting lapped. There are going to be a lot of quick cars in sequence if you're on an out lap, for example.
Oh, amazing final sector from Scott Flack there, a 26.228, I think it was that he just did. So that's not quite enough to get improve his best lap time. But yeah, certainly Scott Flack is very good at keeping the tyres alight, even on a lap with a lot of high-speed corners that could take a lot of energy and wear out of the tyres. He's very good at keeping them alive all the way to the final sector there. So certainly a little bit of experimentation going on even at the end of this session, when you expect everybody just be focusing on their fastest laps and on low fuel.
Of course, just 15 minutes. If you're brand new to GPWC, you get a 15-minute qualifying session at the beginning of each evening's action. So that goes where you don't really have that much time to put your qualifying simulations into practice. So that's excellent from James Knox. He breaks through into 2nd place. And Magnus Aukenhag also with a personal best. So this is really riveting stuff. Now we've been waiting an hour and 40 minutes for the quality, but now we've got a lot of fun to watch for the final 20 minutes.
I was just going to say, Matthew McKinnon, I just noticed, was in the waiting room, and then immediately after that he disappears. Oh. So I guess we won't be hearing from the KKR team owner after all, sadly.
He's voted Juho in.
Yeah, there we go. Well, anyway, as we see Eoin disappearing off into the gravel in the background. But yeah, Mikulak had a bit of a moment on the pit exit there. Because he just reappeared right in front of Aukenhag, and Aukenhag clearly got a bit spooked by the Polish driver's sudden appearance as he's trying to negotiate that one then. But yeah, certainly, as we see Mikulak coming to a stop midway through his out lap, which is a bit awkward, but he goes right back to the pit lane. I guess not everybody has time to do a flying run at the end of the session then. But yeah, it's certainly, as you were saying, impressive run from Knox. Let's look at this map from Emmanuel Gaxella, though. Slightly faster than Scott Flack in the first sector. And let's see if he can hold on through the middle sector then. Looking like a personal best, but still 2/10s down. He could still be able to jump ahead of James Knox, though, especially because Gaxel had fallen to 10th before this point. So it would be quite impressive from the HGP man to get onto the into the top two. So he goes very wide at the final corner. And that's compromised his lap there. And Eoin sounds absolutely heartbroken about that. Good thing this isn't... God, if that was Melbourne qualifying, you'd be throwing a massive fit right now, Eoin. How could Emmanuel mess that up? No!
Yeah, definitely.
Whoa. As we see Damien Carter's having a moment here, and we see battling now, as also some people are doing their quali runs at the moment.
I think Remco heard that he was the only one on hards, and he switched to softs as well.
Yep, and either way now there's there's one of the CM Tech cars, possibly. I think that's Olkenhaug again.
I think it might be Vopke who's just gone back to the pits, actually.
Oh, actually, yeah, that might be Wopke, yeah. But now Damien is trying to start his lap as look at Scott Flack here. He's once again flying on the first sector already.
Yeah, the HEP gets well out of the way as he goes into the hairpin Michelin, it's called, of course, turn 2. And, oh no, it's not turn 2, that's Danny Rosa turn 6. I always get those two mixed up. It's 6 is where Jack Villeneuve had that move on Schumacher in 97, wasn't it? Down at the end of the back straight then. 89 thousandths down on his best time, and pushing limits just a little bit too hard. Bang goes the front wing. So yeah, that's of course one of the benefits of testing is that you can sort of do that and get away with it, whereas in qualifying, once you total the car and teleport back to the pits, that is potentially your session over. So we often see that in wet or on particularly challenging high-speed tracks, that if you have a huge crash on your lap and you can't get back to the pits under your own power, then that can be it, and you can find yourself well down the order.
Yeah, we've had a few incidents in qualifying that tilted the session in one direction or another after a crash, or certainly when you finish at 0 minutes 0 seconds, you may just wreck the car anyway, just to say, all right, that's as much as I could have done. And Magnus, can he threaten the top 10 with this lap? Should be 120, yeah, 120.1, so that's a gain of 1 place. Nicely done.
Yep, slowly but surely, and that displaces Pablo Serrano. Serrano has gone 2/10 quicker than Olkenhaug in the first sector. He's a 10th down though in the second. So and again he's done exactly what we saw Scott Flack do there. So just pushing the edges of the track limits. You saw the left rear tire got on the grass, and it just completely, it's almost like pulling the carpet out from underneath the car. It suddenly is facing sideways, out of control, and heading for the wall.
Alexander Ragoza, this could be a chance to highlight him a little bit down in sector 2 though, and that will put pay to that effort into the barrier, the tire barrier, wing first. So yeah, at least it could have been more dangerous, just at least if you're slowing down and you just tap the front wing, then it is definitely the crumple zone. That'll keep you safe. But Wopke Hoekstra, yes, he's almost there now. Is this his chance to have a go at James Knox and return to second?
Quite possibly. Just a word on Alexander Ragoza. One thing that I do remember at him driving for Gallery 82 in Superlights is that he was very, very handy in sort of mixed and wet conditions. I do remember one season opener one year as we see Hoekstra go P2, and that's a 118.818, so just a 0.277 behind Scott Flack, and crucially just under 2/10 ahead of James Knox as well. So Hoekstra gets the CMT Tech car back into the top 2 in testing. And for a man who's had many fallow seasons, in particular last season in Super League was a very tricky one for Vopke to be P2 in FS1 testing, albeit 2 tiers down, but it definitely feels like a bit of a homecoming for Vopke Hoekstra. It's really good to see him on the pace in this preseason test. Let's hope that it translates into points for the likeable Dutchman.
Yep, as we see Renko Zoo coming across the line using the
Another
DRS
likable
power.
Dutchman.
Another likable Dutchman, as he does 119.702, a decent lap from the Dutchman, instead of the Luxembourg man. Sorry. But yeah, very decent lap as we see Kacper Michalak here, and it's been a bit of a scruffy start to this session, but I think he's just trying to get used to the track as well, and
Yeah.
of course getting the feel of the new car. As I've just said it, he goes a bit too wide.
Yeah, you can definitely tell this is really only his first proper kind of flying lap out there. But we do have a great comment in the chat from Layla Petraglia, who says, "Oh, Farah, I mean, Cap Clay is now in FS1." So yeah, they do feel like one of those teams that was always sort of fighting for the front in FS2, and you sort of expected them. They were sort of overdue a move up to FS1. It's definitely great to see them up here in this tier. And yeah, Michalak certainly is. I think his practice will mainly be focused on Melbourne rather than Ref, which might explain why he's only doing a few exploratory laps really at the end of this session. But yeah, he might be able to spring a surprise and break into the top 10 potentially, even get a decent lap on the soft tier.
Yeah, I certainly think it's possible. He's taken 3 seconds nearly out of his previous best. That's not too bad. Yeah, it's down from the previous 127, so yeah, nearly 3 seconds. But if you can at least give... Oh, no, he's going to back out of this one. But Christoph Pizza Colan, he will be fairly content to say with his work today, logging 51 laps. So yeah, a lot of drivers willing to go nearly a full race distance in terms of a 300 kilometers Grand Prix. So yeah, fair play to them.
Yeah, a lot more pit stops though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no worry about pitting the car for strategy purposes. Telepit and you're out.
Yep, as I see from the timing sheets as well, Raymond Seuss has logged in 74 laps around the circuit already on this day. And that's quite a lot. Possibly there were some ventures to the pit, but still, that's an impressive a lot.
Yeah, he started off doing 17 laps on the hard tire, 18 laps on the soft, and then he's done sort of 4 to 5 lap stints consistently on the softs, going for quali runs essentially on low fuel. As we see Eoin negotiating the final sector. Wonderful sort of run out from turn 10 through 11, 12, and now into 13 at Jorge Lorenzo yet again. Towards the line comes the Italian driver for the new team.
Very good lap.
Wow, there we go. P4, another man in the 119 zeros, and 18 thousandths behind James Noxten. So yeah, Eoin proving he very much belongs here in FS1. By the way, who's the team owner of Team Hugh again? I've forgotten off the top of my head.
I just know they're Vietnamese registered. I don't know who.
It's Vietnamese, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, his flat goes even faster, 118.4.
Wow.
He shaves another 10th off. And Frank Hamming has also set the third fastest lap, 119.002. And Gaxella has pumped in a 118.3 to go fastest of anybody. So Gaxella was threatening to do this for a while, couldn't quite nail the lap together, but he has gone 91 thousandths ahead of Scott Flack then with his latest effort. So Flack had been dominating the last hour and a half or so, and now Gaxella decides with 9 minutes to go is the time to strike.
So you did ask about the Team Hugh team boss.
Yes, we did.
Just out
So
of
his
curiosity.
name is Jung Tran.
Jung
Tran.
Tran. Okay, interesting.
It's very helpful. Thanks very much, Juho, for tracking that down for us.
Yeah, I mean, the new team, Team Hugh, actually looks to be really good on the paper sheet, as well as we see from Eoin. He did a really good lap and shows that he belongs into FS1. To be fair, I mean, we saw also Singapore. He was in race 2 on pole. Unfortunately, he had a crash that cost him the win for LEF. which is now Bodor Racing team, as I say.
Do you know who Eoin's teammate's going to be in the season to come?
Oh, that's a good question because I've got to check the.
It might not be decided yet.
Might not be decided, but who knows? Maybe I could find it somewhere.
We're just looking at Magnus Ockenhaug for CM Tech Racing, doing another run. It seems like a couple of people left the server because we did have, I think, about 15 or 16 people setting lap times at the peak time. So I think 3 people have left and left it 13 runners. Yeah.
Eileen's gone.
So KKR packing up. Don't think there's anything more to be gotten out of this test session. Maybe it's because I didn't notice until the last minute that Matthew McKinnon was waiting in the waiting room. So maybe that's their revenge, saying, well, you won't talk to us, we'll just leave.
But I've now found out the second driver for Team Hugh. It's going to be Alex Day.
Alex Day, interesting. This one's been in and around GPV for a while, so good to see him getting a chance in FS1 for a new team.
Yeah, and I mean he's a pretty solid driver, but of course, seeing him in FS1 looks to be like he might do consistent point scoring. So look out for him as well.
Indeed, we shall. Anyway, then 7 minutes to go, and it looks like the order is as we see James Knox setting another faster time to jump Fopke Hoekstra, getting himself back into the top 4. But it is Frank Hamming in P3 as well, who's been another gainer. So HTP have switched from doing long runs to all of a sudden just unleashing a lot of pace that they were seemingly holding back early in the session when the track was not at sort of a in peak condition then. So this could be an interesting statement of intent going into the season from the Dutch outfit as well.
Indeed,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut in there.
Mind you. That's fine.
But I wonder if Flak's gonna do a flak attack this season, as Ross actually mentioned in the comment section that flak attack, baby.
He did, yeah, and not surprising given the pace that he has been showing all day. Even to be second fastest, I think Scott Flack would probably feel fairly happy with the work that he's done here at Jerez, and certainly Overpower will be feeling that their lead man, and going into his home race, of course, should be one of the contenders, as we see James Knox set a 118.881, 10th slower, and certainly half the car deciding to part company at the top of the hill there. Meanwhile, Damien Carter's pushing the limits through turn 6 as he begins the run downhill.
As I've also seen the comments from Leda Petrali as well. Okay, that's Damien Carter into the wall, and that's on fire as well. Well, continuing on, Layla said in the comments to you, Ed, that Ed watching Magnus like a proud father right now.
I suppose there's a little bit of that. Like I said, sort of, and the boat simulation, it's a nice big family, and we always remember people who were in the family in the past. And Magnus, someone who very, very recently left to join another team, so fair enough. I wasn't expecting to see him in this FS1 session, to be fair, so good to see him in Menno Klont's car. As we see Kakba Mikulak having another go at trying to get out of the last position. 4.7 seconds off the pace at the moment, and a couple of seconds off of Gakzella's time in the first 2 sectors. Towards the line he comes. This should be a little bit stronger. 122.9, so he's shaved about 2 seconds off of his previous best lap then, as he just about gets it turned in for the first corner and continues on his way.
Yeah, just 4 minutes to go now. So it's about time to set probably an out lap and 2 or 3 laps before time up. So anyone who wants to challenge for Emmanuel Gaccella's supremacy, then yeah, you're almost out of time. And Remco currently 9th quickest, but of course these times are all taken from people active in the server. So it's probably a little bit of mathematician work to make sure we can get every single time. And there's MS Performance in the gravel trap there. That would have Raymond who's gone 80 laps since the 2 hours began. So yeah, exceptional pre-season work from Raymond. But Remco has to find something out of Curva Jorge Lorenzo to get an improvement on his personal best. Let's see if he can manage it. It's going to tick into the 119s, but it's just shy with a 3/10 left behind compared to his PB. But yeah, nice work from Remco.
Oh dear,
Oh,
and Magnus has dropped it, and he's done exactly what we saw many drivers do in this session. Just trying to nail that sort of, not the hairpin, but the turns 9 and 10. They go wide out of 9, and then the sort of trying to go from onto the apex in 10. They get the rear wheel onto the grass and just lose control. So, as we said, 3 minutes left to go on the clock then. Doesn't look like... and Mikulak has a big spin just avoided by... that looks like Roman van Soest. As Gaxella is still out there trying to improve on a 118.3. Doesn't look like Scott Flack is showing any signs of going out of the garage. So if he's going to do a sort of final glory run to try and get back the fastest time in testing, if it really is all that important to him, which I'm not certain that it is, then he's certainly leaving it late as we see Gaxella. Frank Hamming sits a slightly faster first sector, but a purple sector for Gaxella then, and Emmanuel, after 13 seasons away, certainly showing he's lost none of their speed in that time. If anything, he's even faster than he was the last time he raced in FS2 and became champion.
It seems like...
a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, to be fair. I mean, it seems like the sabbatical has worked out pretty well then for Emmanuel Garcella. As look at the second sector as well, very fast as well. But as we go through a really fast sweeping corner here, and these are most of the corners that well, some drivers struggle, but here we go on the Curva Jorge Lorenzo.
Oh, he's dropped it.
Oh, no.
No,
Again.
it was gonna be at least a 117, to be honest, and it looked to be really quick for Emmanuel Garcella, but it was way too quick that the car just decided to give up there.
That really shows you can get too greedy on the curbs at some of these corners, and the car can absolutely spit you out then. So yeah, you do still have to take a little bit of care, even on a quali lap when you've got the softest compounded tyre, low fuel, and sort of perfect track conditions at the end of a session. Then as we see Frank Hamming in the other HGP trying to make it an HGP lockout of testing for all that it really matters, because we still got several big hitters really that are yet to show their hand going into Melbourne on the 5th of March. 40 seconds remaining, and Hamming is going to start another flying lap iron.
That's very true, Ed. Oh, almost went on the grass there. Making use of the wider line you need to take to get the better top speed. To turn 1 he goes. Oh, he's really overstepped it there, and he'll be in the barrier. That will conclude Frank Hamming's work, but yeah, I suppose the fact that Emmanuel is just disconnected from the server, that means his time has now disappeared, but it still counts.
118.328 was the time.
Good memory, good memory.
I've got it written down on the Hot Laps top 10 on this view. So
Oh, good
it wasn't reading my memory.
Okay, well, you still thought to write it down, so good on you.
Oh, as Webco nearly loses it, and that's going to be a yellow middle sector there. But well, as I was
He's had enough.
He's had enough. But
I must
yeah,
took
checker
the
flag.
chicane.
Yeah,
Oh.
but checker flag flies in this test session as Raymond van Soest is gonna complete his lap around this circuit, his final lap of this testing. As here we go into Curva Jorge Lorenzo, and whoa, a little wobbly from the exit, but yeah, going through the line and 119.248, so not an improvement, but that concludes his part of testing. As here comes Remco de Zoo.
Personal best middle sector for Remco.
Yep, and DRS up and running, and as he comes across the line, 119.079.
Oh, just behind Roman van Soest then.
Yep, indeed. As here's Magnus. Well, fairly slowly. I think he's gonna do something, at least. Or has he run out of fuel?
Yeah, he's very, very slow on the pedal there, so he must have run out of fuel.
Remco's still pushing as well after the checkered flag.
I mean, he's directed enough broadcasts, he can drive for as long as he wants, and we have to stay here and watch the whole thing, apparently. Anyway, let him have his fun, I say. Especially as we're going to be seeing him all season then, hopefully, behind the wheel of the Excelium.
Yep, and welcome back, Remco de Zoo.
Yeah, in contrary to the comments I said earlier when I was convinced that Remco had retired from driving. But yeah, seems there's life in him yet, and that is certainly a good sign for the season to come.
And a fast entry to the pits as well. That's it. That's it for testing.
All right, there we go. So hopefully we've got the fastest times we can read out very, very quickly. But it is Emmanuel Gaxella, fastest time in testing of 1:18.328. Scott Flack set the second fastest time, 1:18.419. Frank Camming, third fastest in the other HGP, 1:18.575 in third. Then it is James Knox, 1:18.7. Robke Hoekstra, 1:18.8. Alexander Ragotza, 1:18.861. Alessandro Iannone, 1:19.027. Raymond van Soest, 1:19.059. Demi Cardas, 1:19.061. And Massimiliano Riboli, 1:19.137. I think Remco did actually set a 1:19.06, didn't he? Which
078.
hasn't been at 078, so that would actually put him just behind Cardas in 10th position. So him and Riboli swapped from what I've got on here, actually. And then rounding out the rest of our 20 people who competed in testing today, we've got Oliver Hagedij, 12th fastest, Lucas Filin, 13th, Christian Maltrek, 14th fastest for Team Iris, Michel Galke, 15th fastest, Magnus Ockenhag, 16th fastest, Pablo Serrano, 17th fastest, Juho Soppanen, 18th fastest, Krzysztof Pisagolan in 19th, and Kakpa Mikulak, last to show up, was 20th with a 1:22.0. So a good 4 seconds off the pace, I believe, or just under 4 seconds off the pace. All right, nobody waiting to be interviewed by us. Seems everybody is already fed up with us. Not you, Juho, because you joined halfway through, so it's definitely a me and Owen problem.
Juho was the winner of that unofficial poll. Everyone likes Juho.
Okay, well, we didn't really give them much choice, did we? We definitely sold him during the interview, and James Knox also noticing that Remco's last name is wrong on the Halo. Feels like that, wasn't it? Alpha Sierra that did sort of these joke testing liveries with like obscene sponsors that they just took a pretty similar livery into the races as well. Right. I wonder if there's a similar thing going on there, but hopefully not. Anyway, yeah, that concludes FS1 testing then. So, yeah. It's still very unpredictable. I don't think there's a runaway favourite going into the 2026 season. I think the third tier is going to be probably the most competitive it's been in quite a few seasons, really, because there's a lot of people that could well be very strong returning for last season and from 10 to 13 seasons ago. And then there's others moving up from FS2, moving down from super lights with something to prove. So yeah, there's no big standout candidate, I think, Owen, for the title, despite what Ross McIntyre might tell you about Peter Colan, which I don't think is entirely serious. Well, he could still surprise us. Let's not rule out anybody from Gallery 82.
Yeah, it is definitely the most difficult season, I believe, to call in FS1 since I joined the booth. TOP, I suppose I maybe didn't see them coming as much as other people did, but they were absolutely exceptional in that campaign. And then we had close battles for the championships, NetRex and Multiforce 2024. And then, yeah, I was correct to put Multiforce as my favourites to win that title. So yeah, at least I got that right. But honestly, I'll have to decide at Melbourne on the spot who's going to potentially win the title this year. It's so close.
Yeah, certainly. And you hoping he's in the driving seat,
Yeah,
I'm sure. But
Yes.
But all seriousness, Yo, thanks for joining us. And any final thoughts before we let you go to focus on your FS2 and any other championships you might be competing in without wanting to toot my own horn too much?
Well, to be fair, I think we've seen a lot today, I think. But as you might have wondered, well, Flack might be my possible championship contender.
I definitely think he's a good threat for pole position come Melbourne, that's for sure.
Yeah. Will he do a Flack attack in Melbourne? Let's see.
We'll have to see what his Flack-like reflexes I've got in store. But to be fair, he's less of a hanging out driver. He's more of a save tyres and still be really quick. He's sort of Nicky Lauda-esque rather than Ayrton Senna in terms of his driving style. But yeah, certainly the lap time's there, and we'll have to see, especially with impressive performance from Gaxella topping the times there, whether he can translate that into a strong performance come Melbourne as well. But that concludes pre-season testing from Jerez. Still nobody wants to talk to us, so I think this is a good point to wrap up. So the first FS1 race, of course, will take place on the 5th of March for the Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne. But of course, don't forget the week before that we've also got FS2 and is it FS2 and Super Lights that take place in the same week, isn't it? If I remember correctly, the schedule is anything like it was last season. And of course, later in the week on the 8th or 9th of March, we'll have the Super League season opener as well. I think we still got Super League pre-season testing to come next week as well. So make sure you tune in for that, where it will be Caitlin and Ross taking you through all the action. I forget where Super League pre-season testing is being held. It's usually Fuji.
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang, yeah, the South Korea track.
South Korean, yeah.
So that will be a good lot of tests. I think we did FS1 testing there a couple of seasons ago as well. So yeah, this is they put more than rotation, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. South Korea was the other, yeah.
So then, thank you very much for watching FS1 testing here at Jerez in Spain. It is Emmanuel Gaxella that tops the timings at the end of pre-season testing, but who is going to steal a march on the rest when Formula Sprint 1 gets underway with its first 2 races of the season in Melbourne in Australia? We'll see you on the 8th of March. Thanks very much for joining us, and good night.